You've probably heard the term omega-3 fatty acids before. I would like to explain the wonderful effect these fatty acids have in our body. The first question is, where do we get omega-3 fatty acids from? The main source is the ocean. Algae. These ocean plants contain a lot of omega-3 fatty acids. And fish eat these algae, and they get incorporated into the meat. And so the main source is algae and fish. But now there are other animals as well. In fact, pretty much all seafood contains omega-3 fatty acids, because these animals also eat mostly algae. And especially krill contains a lot of omega-3. Krill are tiny crustaceans and are only found at the South Pole. They are the main food for whales. There is still a very big krill population. We have overfished the oceans, and that's why omega-3 fatty acids from fish are now somewhat problematic. You might ask yourself, are there any plants that contain omega-3? Yes, there are. First of all, the flax seeds and raps. These oils, linseed oil and canola oil, are very healthy. Good oils with high content of omega-3 fatty acids. But they are different fatty acids than in fish or algae. In fish we have EPA, DHA. This stands for eicosapentaenoic acid, docosahexaenoic acid. These are the important ones for our body. In plants we have mainly alpha-linolenic acid. This is also a good acid, but it is an omega-6 fatty acid. And until now, in neuropathic medicine, we assumed that this alpha-linolenic acid can be converted into the good omega-3 fatty acids in the body. And the greatest researcher in the field of fats is Professor von Schacke from the University of Munich, a cardiologist. He has scientifically proven that this transformation only takes place on a very small scale. In other words, unfortunately, linseed oil and rapeseed oil are not good sources of omega-3, although many people believe that. They are healthy oils, but not a good source for omega-3. In our body, we should have omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. In our body, we should have omega-3 to omega-6 ratio of 1 to 3. In Europe, we virtually have a ratio from 1 in 20 to 1 in 50. We are overloaded with pro-inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids, and that is why the supply of omega-3 is so important, to bring it back a balance. Omega-6 supports inflammation. Omega-3 inhibits inflammation. The most commonly used oils in our Western countries, such as sunflower oil or safflower oil, soybean oil. These contain high levels of omega-6. For example, chips or French fries are mainly baked in sunflower oil, and that is why these foods are pro-inflammatory. I will now show you by means of a scheme how important the omega-3 index is. You can measure it. This is another achievement of Professor von Schacke. He founded a lab in Munich where I also send our patients' blood to measure the omega-3 index. It is a very complex system. You measure 26 various fatty acids, mix them up, and then the omega-3 index is calculated based on a complex key formula. Now let me show you why this is so important. Here we have the omega-3 index, and this curve is the percentage of heart attack patients. Down there is the omega-3 index, ideally over 8. The target level would be between 8 and 10. Now, if I take 100% of all patients who have had a heart attack, let's start here. All of these heart attack patients had an omega-3 index of 4 or less. Every one, without exception. If we replace omega-3 with good products, the higher this omega-3 index gets, the better for the heart. With an omega-3 index of 10 or 11, we are down at about 10%. Or, to put it differently, we can reduce the chances of having a heart attack just with omega-3 fatty acids by up to 90%. That's just incredible. No one takes notes in conventional medicine, but it is so helpful. And proven by a lot of data from the University of Munich and the laboratory there. By the way, the lab is called omegamatrix.eu. You can look it up yourself. These numbers have been researched, and I wish that knowledge like this would become more widely known in the medical field. Now there is another study. Until now, it has been claimed in conventional medicine, no omega-3 fatty acids have no effect, certainly not on the heart. It requires medication. 3 or 4 years ago, a big study came out called the Evaporate study. It was even presented at a cardiology congress. The study was also conducted with 4G EPA. All previous studies have been performed with much lower doses. If you take too little, it can't really work. And so through many studies, people have tried to prove that omega-3 fatty acids have no medical effect. And now someone has taken a dose large enough to make a difference. And this Evaporate study shows that arteriosclerosis in our blood vessels gets degraded during months and years. Just imagine you can improve arteriosclerosis. This has never happened before. There is no drug that can do that. But the omega-3 fatty acids, they are capable of such effects. Simply fantastic. Where do I use omega-3 for my patients? Not only with the heart. We have talked about that. For all neurological diseases, MS, Parkinson's, dementia, tumours and so on. Also children who suffer from ADHD, they need an increase of omega-3 fatty acids. Because our brain cells consist to a large extent of omega-3. These axons, which are wrapped in a thin tube, this consists to a large extent of omega-3. Everything in regards to neurological disease. Simply add omega-3. The immune system also only functions with omega-3. Of course, not just because. It also needs vitamin D, magnesium, zinc, vitamin C, and much more. But without omega-3, our immune system cannot function properly. Especially with COVID, it is so important that you take in enough omega-3. And the last group are the autoimmune diseases. A polyarthritis, thyroid gland inflammation, tissue inflammation, vascular inflammation, where you can't find a direct cause. They are then called autoimmune. In all of these autoimmune patients, I see when we measure the omega-3 index that it is always below 4. And if we increase it to a minimum of 8, we have clear improvements. Plus the rest of the therapy, of course. Again, the omega-3 index can be measured. Unfortunately, the insurance does not pay for it. In Switzerland, it costs 95 francs. But it's worth it. What I also do, because I've done it so many times, I know the numbers. Instead of measuring them, I simply prescribe enough omega-3 for 3 months. I know that you can go from an index 4 to an index 8 in 3 months when you take 2,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA daily. There are many products on the market. It is important to have a high-dose product. If it is fish oil, go for a heavy metals-free product. Make sure to choose a quality product. There are a lot of cheap ones on the market with heavy metals in them. It's really a cost issue. An expensive omega-3 is usually better, higher dosed, and usually no bad ingredients in it. 2000 milligrams to increase the omega-3 index. And once you get to the top, after about 3 months, half the dose is enough. With a high-quality fish oil, a teaspoon daily is great. You will have a really good omega-3 level in your blood. If you want to know more, you will find a link to a free PDF with even more information down in the description below.